Left-Wing Kingz. Listen, think, act, repeat.
So you brought up women's rights a minute ago, Walonda, and Trump claimed that everyone wanted Roe versus Wade overturned so states could decide on how they wanted to address the abortion issue. Now, VP Harris hit Trump back when he said that, and it was one of the most effective comebacks of the debate. So, Walonda, can you break down her response and explain why it was so powerful?
Yeah, Harris' stance was clear, direct, and grounded in the broader context of women's rights. Okay, as a woman, you want the right to your own body and to make choices for you and yourself and your family. So first, you're just framing abortion as a personal constitutional right, right? I have a right to my body, just like men in this room have a right to theirs. And so that just clear cut there. Okay, so constitutional right, I have a right to make a choice, which it does, of course, appeal to women, of course, and younger voters. They want the ability to make choices for themselves. Then highlighting the stakes for the Supreme Court as well. I mean, it's a real big concern when you have a long-term impact of the judiciary and reproductive rights. Like, these people can make decisions on what you can or cannot do for your body. And we already know what the ramifications have come for that. You got people who are trying to get pregnant. It's personal. It's you got to have some type of empathy because there's some people who can't have kids. My personal situation, I've had an ectopic and I would have died had I not had an abortion per se. I mean, it's me or what happens now. So I die because I can't, legally. Just some questions that with her clearness and I think with the empathy of how it impacts people on a personal, on a personal record, I think she spoke to a lot of people, whether you can get pregnant or not. I think people had that empathy that, hey, their choices are limited or these people have life and death situations. Well, what do they do?
Yeah.
What do they do?
Mm-hmm. And, Trump and the GOP ticket, they're trying to avoid this like the plague. Their take now is, we're sending it back to the states so they can make the choice. And everybody wanted that. Who wanted that? I don't know who wanted it. I don't want Greg Abbott making the decision now. That's even worse. You know what I'm saying? I don't want DeSantis making the decision. You know what I'm saying? But that's their take is pretty much a hands-off approach on the federal side of it. Right. That's not a federal issue anymore. Well, it sucks that somebody in Texas now has to go to, I don't know, what's the nearest state?
Georgia, Colorado. They travel far. They travel far.
Well, let's make it even further. They got to go to California now. Because that's probably, if things go the way they want it, California may be the only state that allows you to have an abortion after it's all said and done. And you got to go out there, and that sucks. And the average person is not going to be able to afford that. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much. Or if they are, it's going to be a financial strain on them. So they're avoiding that like the plague, man. They're trying to stay away from, the women's rights thing and push it into the states and saying, hey, that's not us. Even though I changed the Supreme Court for that that sole purpose, to be able to change things. First thing they did when they got the majority is when after Roe versus Wade, they didn't even hesitate. You know what I'm saying? Now you have two judges that in this next presidential election is probably going to be out of there. They're going to replace them with two more conservative people, and that's a super majority. You know what kind of stuff they're going to come after that? You know what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of people don't understand. We're talking about women's rights now, and I've always said the precursor of going after women's rights and abortion, next thing they're going to do is they're coming after civil rights. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's next. You know what I'm saying? When they get a super majority, hey, you know what? You think they're suppressing your votes now.
What do you think? Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, one thing that stood out to me, like you were talking about, Walonda, with, Harris's responses was like when he said everyone wanted Roe versus Wade overturned, she came back and said specific examples like, so the woman who, is raped, by, someone. Is that what she wanted? Did she wanted Roe versus Wade overturned? She said the little girl who has to raise, her stepfather's baby. Is that what she wanted? I mean, that's powerful to me when she says things like that and makes real world examples, like a case study, on some shit that you might not be thinking about when Trump just lazily says everyone wanted that. Okay, motherfucker, let's talk about some possibilities, some motherfuckers who didn't want that shit
Yeah.
and don't want that shit.
No.
So, because these are some horrible circumstances that people can go to. She said something like, what about the woman who she goes to the hospital because she's in the middle of a miscarriage and the doctors won't operate on her because of their state
bleeds
law.
out.
So she sits out in her car in the parking lot and bleeds out. That's some powerful shit.
Yeah, that's-
okay, that
that's-
makes your shit.
that's-
Everyone wanted it overturned. Not her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Not
saying?
I.
That's a powerful
Yeah.
vision right there, man.
And I didn't think about that too. Like, and I was like, oh my
That's
goodness.
horrible.
Like back in there, I had an ectopic. Like, I was like, what would have happened to me?
Yeah.
Like, what do
That's
I do?
real.
Because I'm telling you, I would have died. Your fallopian tubes literally bust because it's outside of the uterus. I don't know. You know what? I guess I could have traveled. I guess to get it done at that time. But I'm just thinking about that on a personal experience.
Yeah.
What does somebody like me do? And I didn't ask to have an ectopic.
And that was a horrible
It was bad. I was in a lot of pain.
situation for us. Like, she went through that. I'm sitting right there next to her and she in pain this whole time. And
Yeah.
it's just like, we didn't want to be in that situation,
Yeah.
right? We husband and wife, and we put, and the thing about it is just
My
to give
tubes are
y'all-
tied. Yeah, I had my
just to
surgery.
give y'all an example. Her tubes are tied, you know, and we didn't think that she could be pregnant. This happened. You know what I'm saying? As soon as that shit happened, look, I did what a lot of people are saying men should do. Some men won't do.
Yeah.
I had a vasectomy. I said, this shit ain't never happening to my wife again. We double protected against this shit because that's a horrible thing to go through. No one wants to go through a situation like that in their lives. And you know what? If we wanted a kid, then she wouldn't have had her tubes tied. You know what I'm saying? We didn't want to be in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And you know, I look at a lot of westerns. You know, I'm a big westerns fan, and I'm saying that because in the westerns they always have a scene where somebody's pregnant, and that never comes. That's always a life or death situation with the baby in the western days. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have the medicine and the technology we got now.
even before that, shit.
Even before that. But I'm just saying, but just looking at the westerns, when somebody's pregnant, it's always a big deal. They in some barn somewhere and they're tinkering with life, and at the end they might have a baby, but there's that chance that this
Life.
pregnancy may be wrong, because back then they couldn't determine all the things that we could do. Why the hell in 2024 are we trying to take people back to them days?
Right.
Yeah.
To where it's just like, you're pregnant, oh well, you got to deal with it. We got to take you out to the barn to have it or whatever. And if you live, you live. If you die, you die. Because I mean, it was a time in the world where when a woman got pregnant, it was a life or death situation. And we just took it as that. We have the technology where it doesn't have to be
Didn't have
like
to be
that
that.
anymore. And it's like these idiots are wanting to take us back to those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.